Hello everyone, welcome to another tutorial of the thermal system design class. We're gonna be working on Fluent, and last time we were working with a 2D geometry, and now we're gonna be working on generating a 3D geometry for 3D simulations. So the geometry that we're gonna be working is similar to when we did the 2D. So it's gonna be the same thing, but now the difference is that the center from the cylinder to the edge of the domain is going to be 30 times the diameter. The diameter is going to be a 1-inch diameter again. And the actual length of the total length of the domain is going to be 60 times the diameter, which is going to be 60 inches. So from last time, the first thing that we do, we go to our units and we select inches. Once that we have inches selected, we're going to create the sketch. Let's rename this. We're gonna create a sketch of the cylinder. Let's call it cylinder 3D. We're gonna look at it. We're gonna go to sketching. We're gonna draw a simple circle at the center of our plane. And like last time, we're gonna select the dimension, the diameter, to modify this diameter. So right now we created a 4-inch, but we wanted a 1-inch diameter. So that's how we create our cylinder. We go back to the modeling and we generate this sketch. So last time what we did is that from concept we created a surface from this sketch, but this time we're gonna go into extrusion. So if we go to extrusion, it's gonna give us here on details view different options. So the first option that is going to give us is to select the geometry that we want to extrude, which is going to be the cylinder. So we select it. Then it's going to be the operation. Like last time, we add material if we have a system that we want to keep adding to it, or if we have two individual systems, which is our case, we have the cylinder and that domain working separate systems, we add frozen. So we add frozen. Now this is very important, the direction in which the extrusion is going to happen. So if we rotate this, we can see that right now the direction of the extrusion is going to go in the normal direction. So because we're working on the XY plane, our normal direction is going to be the Z-axis. If we were working on the CX, it would be the Y-axis, but in this case, it's on the Z-axis. Something to keep in mind. The direction, because it's normal, is going to go into the positive Z direction. If we go into the different options that this has, if we go to reverse, it's going to give it, as you can see, like this layout of the preview of the extrusion is going to go in the negative direction if we have an asymmetric, but in our case we're going to be working on a symmetric right now. It's giving us that the depth, or how much the extrusion is going to be 12 inches. That's just the default number that is given, but we know that we want our cylinder to be 10 inches. So let's say that we are working with the direction to be in the normal. Then we will select just the 10 inches. As you can see, it shortened a little bit. But in order for us to keep it more consistent, and because we want the cylinder to be centered properly, we're gonna go into symmetry. But if we leave these 10 inches, it's going to give us 10 inches on one side and 10 inches on the other side. So it's not giving us the total, it's giving us how this symmetry is going to work. So 10 inches to the normal direction and 10 inches into the reverse direction. So in our case, because we want a 10-inch cylinder, we're going to go for a 5-inch, 5 on the normal and 5 on the reverse. So after that, we can see that the yellow sign appear here on the extrusion that is telling us to generate the extrusion to finish it. And once we generate it, this is what we obtain. So we can see we have a solid body. Let's rename this. This is going to be the cylinder. And that's how we create it. Now if we create the domain, we select the XY plane again and we create a new sketch. We select the sketch, we look at it, and we go to sketching. We can see the different dimensions on our domain. So it's just a basic rectangle. So let's just draw a random rectangle around the cylinder, and we're gonna define the different dimensions. So we know that the height of our domain is gonna be a 20-inch diameter, 20 inches, sorry. We go to general again. We know that the total length of our domain is gonna be 60 inches. And we also know that from the center of the cylinder to the edges of the domain, we want a separation of a horizontal dimension of 30 inches to be center. And in the vertical direction, from the center to the top or the bottom of that domain, we want same thing, because we have 20, if we want it on the center and we have a 20-inch height, we want it to be 10 inches away from it. So this is our domain. Now that our domain is centered, we go back and we generate it. We can see that the plane goes right through the cylinder. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna generate an extrusion. So the extrusion, same thing. It's telling us, it's asking us which geometry we want to select. Let's rename. We'll rename it in a minute. So the geometry that we want to extrude is the domain. So sketch 2 in this case. Same thing. We don't want to add material to the cylinder. We actually want two different systems working independently. This is gonna be one of the tricky parts. So in that direction, it's gonna be the same thing. So we want, as we can see, we have the 10-inch cylinder in the middle, and we have 5 inches to the right side and the left side. And we want the total extrusion to be a 20 inches. So if we select symmetry, the symmetric, we'll have a 10-inch. So it's gonna give us 10 to the normal direction and 10 to the reverse. We click on generate, and there we have it. We have our 3D model with our cylinder in the middle. From last time, we discussed that whenever we are working on Fluent, we don't actually need this solid body in the middle, this cylinder in the middle. We don't need that. We just need the interaction with the cylinder. So we can actually remove the cylinder out of all the domain and leave it like a void. And as a void, it's gonna interact the same thing as we had as we had it as a solid body. So let us just rename this to domain 3D. So from last time, we're gonna do the same thing. So we're gonna go to create, and we're gonna select volume, and it's gonna give us the option to unite, subtract, or intersect. We're gonna subtract. So the targeted body is what we want to subtract from, which is the domain. We're gonna select the domain. In the tool body is the thing that we're gonna subtract, which is gonna be the cylinder. So if we apply it and we generate this, we can see that our bodies now, the only thing that is left is the actual domain. So that's how you all would create a domain, the geometry for a 3D simulation. As we can see here, the cylinder is left like a void inside of the domain. So this will be it. So next tutorial, we're gonna look on how to export geometries from external sources into ANSYS in order to work from them.